Welcome back to Cine Nerd Presents Blur Trek. I'm Will, and today I'm diving into Star Trek Strange New Worlds Season 3 premiere, Episode 1, Hegemony Part II. Quick note, this is not going to be a play-by-play breakdown of every story beat. I want to focus on the bigger picture and what this episode represents for Star Trek as a whole. Now, I enjoyed this episode. It was solid Trek, but I have to be honest with you. I had some serious Force Awakens vibes watching it. Let me explain what I mean. First, let me talk about the fan reaction and just the numbers as far as the reaction to this season premiere episode. As of this recording, Hegemony Part 2 is sitting at an 8.0 on IMDB with 865 user votes, an 85% Rotten Tomato score, and 74 on Metacritic. Now, those are solid scores. They definitely suggest that most people really enjoyed this episode. The plot of this episode is pretty simple. Spoiler alerts if you haven't seen it, but Enterprise investigates an attack on a Federation colony. The colony is attacked by the Gorn. They're back. Pike's crew is captured on the Gorn mothership. Captain Batel is infected with Gorn embryos, and our heroes use teamwork and scientific ingenuity, including assembling a cloaking device to outsmart the Gorn and save the day. But here's where my Force Awakens feelings kick in. Just like how The Force Awakens was essentially an updated version of A New Hope, Hegemony, to me, feels like parts 1 and 2 feel like an updated Best of Both Worlds from TNG. Think about it, both TNG episodes Part 1 and Part 2. Think about it. Both have the Enterprise rushing to aid a Federation colony under attack. Both feature cliffhanger structures with existential threats. Both involve captains making critical decisions under pressure. Both deal with territorial boundaries and demarcation lines. Both have the heroes putting the attacker to sleep. Even some critics have noted that the structural similarities between the two episodes, actually the 4 episodes, are essentially the same, and one even called it Strange New Worlds, Best of Both Worlds. Now, don't get me wrong, the execution was solid. So solid that I'd like for you to give me a like and hit that subscribe button to hear more of my thoughts on the season as we move forward. But I will say that this episode did work in some ways. The Gorn are genuinely terrifying as a physical predatory threat. Probably even more so in some ways than the Borg's collective, cybernetic collective. The action definitely was more intense in this episode. Pike's defying Starfleet's official orders and being the conflicted warrior, and some of his tactical limitations that we've seen in the past do come forward again, but they feel very authentic to his character. And the team dynamics in solving those were great in this episode. But after consuming hundreds of hours of Star Trek content, I found myself predicting story beats. Calling in distress? Check. A possible rescue mission? Check. Scientific solution saves the day? Check. It's well executed Trek, but it's very familiar Trek. So that brings up something that I've been thinking about what point does franchise television become too self-referential? Star Trek Strange New Worlds has always been praised for feeling like classic Trek, but when does classic become repetitive? Now, to be fair, Strange New Worlds has definitely pushed boundaries in ways that no other modern live-action Trek has done so. Something that would have been unthinkable in Next Generation and DS9 would be an episode like Subspace Rhapsody. Ad Astra per Spara was essentially a courtroom drama about immigration and identity that felt ripped from today's headlines. Lower Decks broke the fourth wall between animated and live action in a way that was genuinely surprising. So, it's very fair to say that Star Trek Strange New Worlds has definitely and should get its flowers for expanding Star Trek's storytelling kit. But they've proven that you can do comedy, they've proven you can do musicals, legal dramas. Even in the first season, they had a fairy tale episode, while still maintaining that Star Trek, that classic Trek feel. The show definitely has more tonal variety than any series since the original, and even some people say sometimes those swings go too far. Even when you think about these episodes aired this week, back to back with Hegemony Part 1 and Wedding Bell Blues, which I'll review in another video. But we expect the weird each season. We now know there's going to be a Lower Decks crossover. We now know there's going to be a musical number or some other format-breaking experiment. When innovation becomes predictable, is it still innovation? What would it actually take to surprise a long-time Trekhead like me at this point? Looking at Trek history, the episodes that genuinely shock us broke fundamental rules about things in Star Trek without warning. For example, the Inner Light made us question everything we knew about Picard by giving him an entire lifetime of another person's life in 22 minutes, but at the same time, it taught us so much about Jean-Luc in those 22 minutes. In the Pale Moonlight, completely shattered the fourth wall by making Sisko almost talking to us as the audience members while he was making his plans for the Dominion War. The problem, to me, it seems, is structural. When you have hundreds of hours of Trek, you start recognizing the pattern: the colony in distress, the impossible rescue, the scientific solution, the moral dilemma resolved through Federation values. Even when it's executed brilliantly, like in Hegemony, you're watching the formula play out. What Trek needs to do to really surprise us isn't just better execution of familiar stories, or even planned innovations. It's genuine structural unpredictability. Non-linear storytelling isn't telegraphed. Unreliable narrators. Episodes that challenge the very premise of Starfleet itself without warning us that it's coming. Imagine an episode like Hegemony told entirely from the Gorn perspective that we didn't know was coming or expecting, like in a season premiere, or where the Federation is genuinely wrong and our heroes have to live with that. Not as a special episode, but just another day in the life of the Starship Enterprise. The irony is that Trek was built on experimentation without fanfare. Think about it. Back in the original series, they gave us episodes like The Enemy Within that explored Kirk's dark side, or Let This Be Your Last Battlefield that tackled racism through allegory. But they didn't market these as very special episodes. They were just part of the show's DNA. Now, Strange New Worlds has proven it can innovate within Trek's framework, and that's been done in a very impressive way. But until any Star Trek show is willing to break its own rules without announcing it first, and not just execute them perfectly or plan special format episodes, we'll keep getting these well-crafted stories that feel like updated stories that we've already seen. So, bottom line is, Hegemony Part 2 is good television, and it's solid Star Trek. If you're a newer fan to Star Trek, you'll probably love it. If you're a longtime fan like me, you'll appreciate the craftsmanship while maybe wishing for something more unexpected. I'd have to say I have to give this episode 7.5 out of 10, because for me, yes, it was completely enjoyable. It was definitely well made, but ultimately it played it safe. So, let me know your thoughts in the comment below. And do you think I'm being too nitpicky, or do you feel the same way, that sometimes franchises can still be good, but sometimes fall into the predictability track? But most importantly, do me a huge favor here, and Sarah, our host, as well, and be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. You can also get all of our current and past podcasts by going to www.scenanerdpodcast.com. Live long and prosper.